Welcome to Fairy Tale Access, where the head fairy's quest is to prove that fairy tales do exist in actual time rather than once upon a time. Together, we will unravel the heroes, young and old, who turn dreams into reality. These are the people who still believe in happily ever after. The discoveries will bend even our most cynical non-believers into believing in fairy tales. Hi, welcome to Fairy Tale Access. Today, I have Colin and Leslie from the Peak Recovery and Health Center, and we have some advanced techniques to deal with pain, speedier recovery, and enhance your sports performance. Thank you for joining me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for having us. Really appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. So let's talk about some of the things that you offer at your health center, because they include words like antigravity, pods, infrared. It sounds like a spy movie.
These aren't just common terms. Come on, everybody knows about these things, right?
I know. Well, what about cryotherapy? Is that something that makes you cry? You know, it sounds...
I'll say some people, when they hear cryotherapy and we tell them what it is, they get nervous and they're going to cry. But once they experience it, they have a lot better enlightenment and enjoy it a lot more than they expect they're going to. But cryotherapy, there's a few different versions of it and things. Primarily, we do whole body cryotherapy. And what that is basically offering extreme cold temperatures to the body. So what you actually do if you were to come in for a treatment is you would come in and you get inside the chamber and you basically go down into your underwear. So we have a robe or something that we put on you so that you can get into the chamber, and then once you get in we take that off. And then it uses nitrogen to shoot in, again, very cold temperatures, so it can get down to negative 230 degrees if we want to.
And how long do you stay in negative 230 degrees?
Yeah, so that's for a maximum of 3 minutes. So
Maximum
it's
of 3 minutes?
Very short and sweet, yeah.
Okay. Well, I did go in and try a couple of these things out and get a tour. So the nitrogen actually gives like a
Vapor,
mist,
right?
a
mist,
vapor.
Yeah. Yeah.
And going in, what I was surprised about was that I had made sure that I really worked out hard the day before I went in and that I was sore. So I got out, and at first I was like, it was cold.
Yeah,
But,
it's cold. Absolutely.
and then it was like, once I was starting to walk out the door, I was like, wow. Like, it was almost instantaneous relief, you know, from lower back pain, shoulder pain. So how often do people have to go to get that, you know, feeling all the time?
So I think it's going to depend on the person for sure, and you know, especially for athletes and whatnot, you know, the level of training and how much they're training and things. You know, another example, we have a regular customer that she ran her first 100-mile running race, right? And so she actually, we didn't ask her to do this, but she made a video of her experience with whole body cryotherapy with us and things. So she showed a video of herself literally walking on crutches at her house the next day after the race. She was that sore, which understandably so after running 100 miles, you think.
Absolutely.
You know, she was,
how long did
what,
it take?
27 hours, I think it was.
And it was a trail race,
right.
too.
Like,
So it wasn't
So
like
it's
running 100
nonstop?
miles
Yeah,
flat
nonstop.
on the road. It was up and down and through creeks and woods.
Oh, I can
Right.
imagine. She must feel awful.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
So how did it help her?
So she came in 30 hours, I think she documented, after she finished the race. And then she showed herself 30 minutes after the race, and she literally is
After the
walking.
cryo.
After the cryo,
Yeah.
excuse me. Yes, after the cryo. And she's just walking around totally normal. And she
I
was
know,
just
it's
in awe.
amazing.
Yeah.
It really shuts down that inflammatory response. So
Right.
the swelling and the puffiness and just the fluid retention from that kind of race. But for chronic pain, it's really effective for acute pain if you had an ankle injury or like you had worked out really hard. So you're not always that sore, but you worked out really hard. And that 3-minute session can just shut down that inflammation response and just prep you for your next, you know, workout or race or just day-to-day life.
So what can people expect? For me, when I went in and came out, at first I was like, oh, maybe I'm a little dizzy. Are people usually dizzy? Like, I didn't know what to expect.
Yeah.
And then as I was getting ready to walk out the door, I had to turn around and say, wow, like, wow, this is really amazing. And I also tried the facial.
Okay,
Oh, I love
great.
that. It's one of my favorite things.
Yeah.
The scalp and the face and
But I was really surprised. It's like a good facial if you're going out somewhere to an event because it really puffed out your wrinkles.
it does. It's like an immediate like collagen boost, but it smooths out your skin and it just gives you kind of this shiny, like beautiful, younger appearance. Like every time I've done it, I've only done it a few times, I feel the same way.
So how many times do you have to go for it to stick like that
Yeah.
forever?
I don't know if there's a sticking effect. I think I do think it's something like, it seems to stick around for a couple days, but I do think it's something that you need to do on a fairly regular basis in order to get that, especially, on the cryo front for that piece for sure.
Right. So it is, it's increasing collagen and whatnot, and so it can help if you have blemishes and things like that. It can actually, help to eliminate them and so forth, but it does take multiple treatments for that to happen there.
Is that the same thing with localized cryotherapy?
Exactly, yeah. So it's basically the very same machine that we use for treatment. It's just on a specific body part or whatnot. So, we have people with like broken ankles or recovering from surgery and different things like that want to apply that cold directly to that particular area.
And does it help increase their mobility and able to get back to their physical therapy quicker and more mobility?
Yeah. For example, like if a teenager or anyone tears their ACL, a lot of times they can't do the surgery or they can't really work on it or do the x-rays and the MRI until the swelling has gone down. So that's a great way to get that very traumatic injury, get the swelling down and get them into the doctor sooner and get the surgeries sooner. So it definitely, just everything just calms right down. So.
Wow. What about the photobiomodulation?
You said it. Nice job.
Thanks. It looks like a tanning bed almost.
That's what I like to say. It looks like a tanning bed, and that's where the comparisons end right there. So you are.
So we're not going to get tan?
No.
No.
Is it still cold?
No, it's
warm.
warm.
It's warm?
Yeah,
It's like
it
lying
is.
in the sun.
Yes.
Amazing.
So it does
But no
generate
tan.
heat,
Right,
but
no
no, it's not actually going to generate a tan for you. But what it's doing is it's using the LED lights to penetrate through your skin and actually get down to the cellular level. So for those that are familiar with ATP, adenosine triphosphate, or like the mitochondria, that are inside and basically the energy of our cells, what it can do is if they're deteriorated or they're not functioning properly, it can help ultimately give them kind of a facelift and rejuvenate them and help them perform either as well as they were, and a lot of times even better than they were in the past.
So would that also help with, like seasonal depression,
Absolutely.
things like that?
I was in yesterday and we had another rainy day yesterday, another rainy day today, but you can only go in every other day. So, but yesterday I was kind of like, oh, and then went in and came out and my day was better. And I'm thinking, why all this joie de vivre I have? And I honestly think that I know that there are studies on that as well. But for me personally, it definitely is a lift. It's a boost for sure.
Yeah.
Great.
And also really speed up recovery and things like that. My first experience before purchasing the equipment was going to a place in Texas that had one, and I'm an athlete as well, and I had a hamstring issue going on, and so the next day when I woke up, literally it was just gone. So,
Wow.
There's like the U.S. Olympic track team, they have one of the photobiomodulation beds, they swear by it, and you can see a lot of very strong testimonials that they have and things around it, and definitely for athletes can really, really benefit you. But it's really, when you're getting down to the cellular level, the possibilities are endless, really.
Yeah.
So what made you get into this business? Just because of that? Or
Yeah, well, so I am a triathlon coach, and I've been into endurance events things for many years now, and so I'm always trying to find the latest and greatest gadgets and things like that, ultimately to help myself and help my clients, to perform better and things like that. So I heard about cryotherapy, and I travel a decent amount for work, so I had an opportunity to go try that out, and was extremely impressed with how it made me feel, and actually the increased energy is what I noticed most about it and things, but definitely the recovery aspect of it as well. And so I just looked around to see if there was anything else in the area, and realized that there wasn't, and then seeing these other opportunities of different modalities and so forth that aren't being offered around here, and I just felt like it was a really good opportunity to bring these things to the greater Nashua area.
absolutely. I mean, they're things that you would probably find in Boston, maybe, or New York.
Yeah.
Right. And then like the float pod. Now this was like walking into the room. I just couldn't help it. But that Tom Cruise movie, and you just like floating. Does that thing actually cover over you while you're in there?
Yeah, the top closes all the way, but there's a lot of headroom.
There is a lot of headroom.
So you could sit up in there. Colin can even sit up in there and not hit his head.
I can.
So.
True.
And most people do, so that they try to sit up to see if they can sink, because it's 1,000 pounds of Epsom salt in a foot of water, and you just cannot make yourself sink. So
kind of like being in the
fall
Dead
asleep.
Sea.
You
It's
can fall
exactly
asleep
what
and-
it's emulating.
yeah,
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
you'll stay afloat. So,
Yeah.
but everyone has to try it out. Like you sit up and you like try to make yourself sink, and you can't. And
Yeah.
then you're like, all right, I'll just relax now.
I don't know. I've been in the Dead Sea, so
Wow.
you can see the sky. So being in a pod, it seems like spooky and dark. So what's the purpose of just being in the dark like that?
So there's a few benefits to it. So the Epsom salt is certainly very good for your skin and so forth. So being in there, and so you do actually go and you lie in there for up to an hour. So it's a long time, and in today's technology-driven world, for me certainly, I know it's the only time that I'm actually isolated and by myself and not thinking about a million different things and worrying about text messages and phone calls and emails and things on my phone and stuff, and just shutting myself off and letting me get a little me time. So again, the Epsom salt helps with your body, but it's more for your mind. Right? So it's going to help improve cognitive thinking. It's going to help reduce stress. It's going to help reduce anxiety. A lot of people with insomnia and sleep issues see tremendous benefit from it. Rheumatoid arthritis, fibromyalgia. A lot of people, we have a few customers in particular with rheumatoid arthritis that have reached out to me the next day and said that we've literally changed their life because they've tried everything under the moon and they cannot find anything that has helped them, and they feel so much better after just a single float session.
Wow, and it's just really gets you to relax, I guess.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
primarily,
in the sensory deprivation, they've done studies, and there are some veterans that have started their own companies that are just float pods, because there's a connection between shutting down the amygdala, that aspect of your brain, that part of your brain, and being able to do that to help with PTSD and healing from brain injury and other experiences
Concussions
like
and
that,
things,
concussions and PTSD. So there's a lot of science that's gathering around that, and so when you're in a sensory deprived environment and you're no longer thinking about where you end and begin, and there are no more inputs, your brain can really shut down and get into one of the deepest, I don't know if it's delta waves, but get into those very deep recovery brain waves to heal. So getting there can be hard for people to really but you can put on a meditation. There's a light option, like different colored lights, and you can open the pod or close the pod. So there's various ways to do it, because some people come in and they're like, oh, I could never do that. And then you're like, well, let's just talk about this for a second, and the water's like skin temperature, and it's a really nice environment. So there's some different ways to approach it. So.
Okay. Yes.
And those people
You
that
have
are
to come back and float.
those people that are claustrophobic, we can start with the lid open as well, so if they want, but I've had quite a few people that say that they are claustrophobic, and as soon as they get in, they'll say, okay, I'm fine, and they
like,
close
I'm
it.
closing this.
Yeah.
Close out everybody.
Right.
Really?
Shut out the world.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, you've decorated it really nice. It's nice and calming when you go in. The staff is great at explaining everything. So now, the infrared sauna, the only thing that looked really normal to me. Like, okay, it's a
Probably
sauna.
the closest to a traditional piece of equipment that we have, yeah. So,
But with infrared, what's the difference between that and a regular sauna?
So the difference there, I like to explain the infrared sauna is really, it's like taking in all the benefits of the sun without all the negative impacts and things that we can get from the sun. So the infrared, again, is getting down to the cellular level. So the biggest difference between that and a traditional sauna is a couple things. So with a traditional sauna, you typically see them at like 180 to 200 degrees Fahrenheit. And we only set ours to 135 to 140 degrees. So it's much more comfortable when you're in there. But the biggest thing is once you start to sweat and you get that moisture over your skin, the traditional sauna the heat cannot penetrate through your skin and continue to reap the benefits, where infrared can get down and go past the moisture. So
Wow.
that's the big difference, why it's a lot more beneficial in most cases than a traditional sauna.
Okay, that sounds interesting. And then there's compression therapy, where the candidates look like the Michelin guy. So how does that work, and what does it do to the body?
You want to take that?
Yeah, you take that one. I'll tell my experience from the other day, though. But
Sure. So it's ultimately helping to reduce inflammation through helping with circulation in the body and so forth. So basically, what it's doing is it's applying air and pressure to compress, your muscles and so forth, and then it releases, which allows to generate that circulation that we're looking for, which again can help reduce muscle soreness and things like that, and improve, blood flow in those areas.
And they can just sit down in a chair and wear this
Just
whole
sit down,
little
relax,
suit.
Recliners and
put on the
have
recliner,
a mineral water and a bar and yeah.
watch something on their phone or a TV or something, and just relax. Yeah.
Wow.
If you've ever been in the hospital recovering from surgery, a lot of times they put the boots on you to, which is the same concept, to force the blood exchange and to make sure you're circulating so you don't get a blood clot. So if you're prone for a day or two from surgery, they want to make sure all that blood is still moving. And one of the benefits for athletes and even non-athletes with the compression boots is that your lymphatic system, especially down around your ankles and your feet, it doesn't necessarily move really well. So, and your lymph is what traps bacteria, viruses, molds, toxins. That's your second line of defense for your immune system. So it's a really great way to activate that lymph system, get all that stuff circulating, stay hydrated, and just flush it out. So, and it feels really pretty cool. So, and it goes up like a wave up your body, and then it like settles up here, and then it goes back down. And so again, it's just relaxing.
So is it like one of those wave massage beds, but
It's like a hugging wave. It's like a really tight hug, and then you're like, oh, I can't breathe, and then you're like, oh, I can breathe again.
Oh, that's funny.
So, but yeah, it's like a little like squeezy hug all the way up your body, and then all the way back down, and all the way up. Yeah, it's a very tactile experience over at Peak. But
All right, and then the anti-gravity treadmills.
Yeah.
Why do we need anti-gravity treadmills? Isn't it better to do a treadmill in like
full gravity.
Full gravity, so you're feeling the weight when you're walking, because they say walking is good for you.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So for the most part, for many people, full gravity is what we need and what we want for bone density and health and wellness. But we are looking to help people recover as quickly as possible. So we do have people with injuries from overtraining, or we have a hip replacement or a knee replacement. And the anti-gravity is a way to get on the treadmill and have part of your body weight reduced. So we reduce the gravity, the gravitational pull on your, so say you weigh, how much do you weigh?
About 190.
190 pounds. We can reduce his weight down to 70% of that body weight, or down to 65% or 80%. So he can start to get back to being on his feet, walking, jogging, running. You can do walking backwards, running backwards, but you can get back out there, and back to training before, without having to lose the weight and
Right.
So do
well,
you
and
work with
also, for people that are overweight, it could be a opportunity for them to really kick in and get their cardiovascular systems going by not having to has much stress and load on their body and so forth than if they were to
Does
try
it
and do
help
that
with
without.
weight loss?
Oh, sure.
Anytime you're working out, anytime you're burning calories, it definitely will. And like Colin said, some people love to run, but their joints can't handle it. So it's a great way to reduce that load and get a run in every, a couple times a week. So it's a pretty neat machine. You put these kind of neoprene shorts on and zip in, and then the gravitational.
Airtight, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
But, I mean, we've had people that could literally only run for less than a minute, and they come in their first session, they're running for 20 to 25 minutes.
Yeah.
Really?
And
Do you coordinate with their physical therapist or doctors to see where they should be starting?
Yeah, absolutely. So, certainly going to get some guidance there. And we actually have a physical therapist that runs that machine primarily, so she can give some guidance and things on that, absolutely.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
And what type of training do your employees have to use all of this new equipment?
So there's honestly minimal actual formal training that's required. A lot of it is through experience and things like that. Because these are such cutting edge and new technologies, it really has, none of these things are FDA regulated and so forth. So, but we do have different certifications and things like that. We went to a couple ones in New York, and we have all our different machines and manufacturers require us to go through their certifications and so forth to be able to supply the services and things.
Yeah, and when looking through it and on the background of cryotherapy, the only accidents that were reported seem to be all due to negligence, because they didn't have somebody spotting them, or they went in to try the equipment, which seems pretty not smart, but...
Or they put their head below. Like, there's very specific guidelines on there and a list of contraindications, like if you've got this, or this, like absolutely not. And but I did read a report of like somebody wanting to get full effect, so they were in like a tank and they like went submerged themselves, like things like that. You just can't, like, you just don't go against the rules and regulations of the piece of equipment.
Right.
We actually have the safest market as the safest machine on the planet, and there's a lot of different things that help to prevent any kind of issue like that. So they're actually, you have to validate on the machine every 30 seconds that things are okay, or it'll shut off. So nobody's going to be able to go in there by themselves and so forth. So safety is certainly our top priority, and making sure that people are
And you have a long
everything.
checklist for people when they come
Very
in.
extensive that first time.
Thumbprints.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It
It's
was
high
like
security.
being in a Tom Cruise movie, but no, it was amazing. So where do you see it going? Is there any new equipment coming in the future?
Yeah, so we do have one new piece of equipment that we're bringing in. It's called the Cryo Skin. Okay, and a lot of people, I think, will be interested in this. It has a few different attributes and things that can help with, but primarily it can actually significantly help with weight loss and actually reducing. So you do typical sessions between 20 and 30 minutes, and oftentimes it can reduce up to an inch worth of body fat in a single session.
I'm the first.
So-
I'm the first. No, I'm first.
Okay,
you're
wait.
second.
Okay, I'll be right
Back of
behind
my
you.
legs.
Right.
Back yours.
I'll be like, oh, let's see if it works on her.
Exactly. Well, I do know. I mean, Colin called me. We've had a couple conversations about this, and at first I was like, I don't know. And then we talked more about it, and then I realized every time I went in the whole body cryo tank and I came out, the backs of my legs were like firmer and thinner, and I was thinking, well, that's maybe just like a topical, experience. But I have been a little bit of a chicken lately, and I haven't gone in that as much, and I've just been doing PBM, and usually I do whole body.
The
to PBM.
photobiomodulation, yeah.
Yes,
right.
photobiomodulation. So I'll go whole body cryo, photobiomodulation, and it's a great combination to get back out for the next run. And so I've been noticing that I need to get back in the whole body cryo until the cryo skin comes. But yeah, I'm really excited about it. I think the demographic, the appeal is going to be even broader than what we have now. So
Definitely. And people can get different packages, so it really turns out not to be an expensive option. And with the type of machines you have, when you go in there and you see smoke rising and you're like, wow, this must be really expensive to do, on a regular basis. But you seem to have packages set up for people and, for different levels. And how do they decide, which combinations they're going to do?
Great question. Yeah, so really we strongly hope that people will come in to check out the facility, and we can talk more to them about what they may have going on and so forth, so we can give them some suggestions and so forth. But ultimately through that and understanding what characteristics and what kind of things they're looking to improve on, our staff will be able to give them recommendations on that.
Great. And how did you get involved?
Well, Colin coached me for my first, it was for my first Ironman, or for many triathlons and many races. And then I also did nutrition for peak triathlon coaching.
She coached me on the nutrition
And
front.
I coached Colin on the nutrition front, and he's a very good student. And then when this opened, I'm not sure if we talked beforehand much, but when I came in the first time, and I walked out and I turned to my husband, I said, I want to work there. Like, I have to be a part of this. This is so awesome. And so I immediately texted and called and harassed Colin, and I said, I want to work there, and what can you do?
Didn't take much harassment. Yeah.
So, and then my time's not super flexible like during the day, so we agreed that I would focus on outreach and marketing and education and locating physical therapists and doctors and those that could experience the services and then refer their clients or their patients back to us. So that's really where I focus my efforts is outside of the building, but whenever I can, at least twice a week, I get inside the building and inside the tank and inside the PBM.
Great, because you have, doctors, especially orthopedic surgeons, trying it out so that they know, instead of prescribing, maybe they could suggest this as an alternative.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because
letting
people,
our bodies heal naturally, right, as opposed to relying on a pill and different things and all the problems that come with that.
Well, we've had a couple of we do a newsletter every 2 weeks, and we showcase or we spotlight a different client. And we've had one that's very specifically worked on getting reducing her pain medication and getting off the opioids for chronic pain. So I can see this in the future as being a great opportunity to really start to mitigate some of those problems. We just need more education and more awareness, and that's why we're so happy to be here.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
And,
so happy
yeah,
to
but
share
that's
what
a
you
big,
do with
big
the
piece.
And I'd like to clarify too. I mean, we both have athletic backgrounds, and kind of talk about the athletic piece a lot. But you do not need to be an athlete to reap the benefits of this. And we have a lot of, like Leslie mentioned there, people that are just have chronic pain and things that are tired of being in pain and just not being able to enjoy life because they're not comfortable. And so.
Well, imagine too, if you're sitting at a desk all day, you're getting lower back pain, you're getting neck pain.
Right.
And I do that a lot. So I do a
Who
lot of
doesn't
research,
these days for the
you
most
know,
part, right?
Yep.
but I made sure the first time that I came in that I was really sore. And I have to say, I mean, I'm never like, oh, this is great. But actually, this was great. Like it was, and I realized it may not be the same thing for everybody,
Right.
but
Certainly.
I was just really surprised about walking in and saying, wow. Like when I left, I was just like, wow, this is really,
It's kind of a surprise. It's like a little
Yeah, you
adrenaline
feel like
rush too. Like you
it's
just feel good.
lighter
Yeah,
and,
you do.
and then it took me like walking out the door to realize I'm not in pain,
Right.
you know?
You don't really think about pain unless you're in pain. And when we're not in pain, we don't really think about it a lot. But then when you are, you're consumed. Like it's a
Great
consuming
point.
thing.
Right. Like I
your
think I
mood
made the
better?
girls laugh because I'm like, wait, no, it's not there. Right. Well, thank you for sharing so much about what you do. And do you have any tips for people that, do have chronic pain, or especially young people in high school doing sports? Is it something for everybody to try at least once?
That's what I'd highly recommend. We recognize that this is totally cutting edge things you've never heard of, and you should see some of the looks sometimes I get when I'm explaining to people that have no idea about these things, what we're doing, and it's different, it definitely is. But if you give it a chance, I think you'll be really surprised at how much you can benefit from it.
Yeah.
Well, don't they use cryotherapy for football players too?
Oh yeah, all
A
the
lot of these
professional
training
teams,
rooms you'll
yeah.
see in the Division I colleges and the pro sports. You're going to see a lot of this equipment is exactly what is in those training rooms that we have. And that's what I tell, because I coach field hockey, I coach lacrosse, and connected to a lot of athletes. And I tell them, like, and my daughter, who's 14, comes in regularly. She's in the compression boots. She's in the whole body cryotherapy, minus 230 for 3 minutes. She goes to the photobiomodulation bed. It's outstanding recovery for these. And these athletes play every day, 6 to 7 days a week. So when they're in season. So it's a great opportunity for them to heal. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Well, thank you again.
Yeah.
Yes,
Thank
thanks
you
so much for having us.
My pleasure. And until next time, keep asking questions. And if you suffer from chronic pain, or you're really into sports, or you just want to try the newest therapy out there, check out Peak Recovery and Health Center. Their website is under the same name. It's Peak Recovery and is spelled out, healthcenter.com. And you'll be able to meet Colin and Leslie and their wonderful staff. We'll see you soon.